The single biggest expense land investors have outside of buying properties is mailing. Wouldn't it be great if you could get a 50% response rate or greater? It's actually not that hard to do. All you have to do is offer a whole lot more for properties than they're worth. Unfortunately, that would result in an awful lot of work that wouldn't translate into deals. That's why getting your offer prices as accurate as possible is so important. If you've ever overpriced a mailer, don't feel bad. It happens from time to time, even amongst the most seasoned land investors. Today on the Land.MBA podcast, Dave and I are talking to Mitch Milam, a seven-figure investor who killed it in 2021, on his secret to success and why he offered 6 times the retail value for a single property.
Gentlemen, how are you this fine Wednesday?
Doing good.
Good. Well, everybody, we've got, of course, you know who I am, and we've got my famous sidekick here, Mr. Howard Zonder, and our special guest, Mr. Mitch Milam.
Howdy, guys.
Mr.
Good.
Texas is closed.
Texas is closed.
As he closed it down, he bought all the property.
There's nothing left.
Nothing left. Bought it all.
So, Dave, before we get into the meat and potatoes of all this, just wanted to make a quick mention of for those of you who haven't been paying attention because you were busy eating ham and turkey and enjoying your families over the holidays. We've recently launched our new pricing course, Master Your Pricing. It was great to see all those people partaking of it towards the end of December, and just want to kind of keep talking about it a little bit, simply because from our experience, certainly Dave and mine, there's almost nothing quite as strategically important to success in this business as pricing. Obviously, you've got to find the right counties. That's a different strategic process. But once you do that, your biggest expense really outside of properties themselves is mailing. And you want to make sure that when you send that mail out, it's going to land and it's going to be received well so that you can get as much feedback as you can. And in order to do that, you really need to have some pretty accurate pricing so you're not ticking people off and rubbing them the wrong way. So that's what this is all about. And this has been developed working with a lot of really, really successful land investors, Mitch included. So check it out. It's https://pricemaster.land.mba. There's no www, just pricemaster.land.mba. Check it out. And now, Mitch, you've gone through the entire class, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Didn't take long, a couple hours.
Exactly. It doesn't take a tremendous amount of time to go through it. I would imagine it takes some time to master it.
Yes.
But would love to hear your feedback on what's being taught in there.
Sure. So, basically the idea is, at least my interpretation of the idea that you guys are presenting is sometimes an algorithmic pricing mechanism just doesn't work because of circumstances. So the only thing left to do is do it by hand. And what Dave walks through is how to do it smartly, and then using the Price Boss tool, how to actually pull the comps and actually price things in a manner that lets you, get your biggest bang for the buck without hopefully wasting a lot of time and money on mailing.
Exactly. How to identify locations that are smaller than the county that look like they should have common attributes and therefore a common pricing, and just kind of just isolate those both from a comping perspective as well as on the mailing list, so you can correlate like a price per acre between them, and then you can get the pricing pretty accurate.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Now, when we were on a Land Speed Smart Bar a couple weeks ago, You just said something that just caught my attention. You said something about now just to put this in context. We're talking about Mr. Texas. Mr. This guy is hitting it out of the park. I mean, we're at seven. Is it fair for me to say seven figures of revenue?
Yeah, last year was 7 figures. Yep.
Seven figures of revenue in the land business, and it just what you said specifically was you made an offer on a property that was 6 times the retail value.
Oops.
That was actually just so because doing 7 figures, he could.
Yeah, right. It's like, yeah, so if I pay 6 times the value, I mean, it's a nice property. What am I going to do?
Yeah, look good on paper.
And he pulled up to the title company to sign for it in his Lambo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think I'll fit in the
What's
Lambo.
going
Good
on
idea.
with that bitch? So what possessed you to do that?
Well, it was. I would say it was an accident, except for the fact that I pushed the button. So it's it wasn't an accident. So I ran through one of the the algorithmic pricing tools out there, which generally produces pretty good data. I'm really happy with the way it works, but there are edge cases that are dependent on a lot of times geography. So this is Texas, and Texas is like a lot of places, in the country where you have a wide variety of geographical features from lakes to hills and mountains, rivers, things like that. So everything is going to be priced differently depending on where it is. In this particular case, it was near a lake. It was a couple streets off of the lake, and the comps that what few there were that got pulled in were actually comped close to the lakefront properties, which, as you can imagine, are many times what the value is of a non-lakefront property.
Absolutely.
And so, combine that with the fact that I still hadn't found a realtor to give me on the ground advice about how to price stuff and where, different things. And when I finally got all that figured out, yeah, I offered $42,000 for a property that I could probably sell for 7.
Right. Yeah.
I'm guessing they called you.
They called me, yeah, pretty quick actually. And I'm like, oh, it's like, hey, yeah, I got some right down the street here in some other neighborhood, like same neighborhood, a couple more, and even those are overpriced by a couple $1,000s. Those were more reasonable, and because what I'd done, when I saw the lakefront issues, I went and manually pulled those out of the mailing. But a few of them, they seem like they would be reasonable prices, but again, I didn't have full knowledge of the pricing aspects because it's the area is so diverse that it's almost a street by street, for sure, subdivision by subdivision. But even then, within the subdivision, you've got again, in this case, lakefront versus near the lake versus not near the lake.
Right. Yeah. Right. So that's just that really hits home on the principle that maybe in some areas which are very similar, you can use the fully automated solution and use some of the methodologies that some of the gurus teach or used to teach, pricing by county or pricing even by zip code. And that's what our new method hits. So you can, you see it yourself, you draw the boundary lines yourself, you find you're checking the area. Now it's not as fast, but it's more effective, and hopefully,
and you learn so much about understanding the market you're playing in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things I was recently talking to a friend of mine about Western Florida, and he was saying, there's a highway that goes up, say, from Naples up to Tampa. And he was saying the difference between property on the east side of that highway and on the west side of that highway is night and freaking day.
Absolutely.
And it's because of taxes.
Yep.
The property taxes on the east side of that highway are like half or whatever it is of the properties that are more on the coastline. And you could just by separating between that highway, save yourself, if you were going to buy for yourself, massive amounts of money by buying on the east side and not being that far away anyway.
Yeah.
So a road could make a huge difference.
Yep. the more, the more highly developed areas, where you are just on one block, it's really, if you're infill lots or if you're in, more highly developed areas, it's gets down closer to how you do houses, except the data isn't as available. But you're one block off, and you're in a different school zone. You're that different area with the different taxes. I had a campaign in Florida once, and I had a new person working for me. She was so excited because she got 5 deals under contract that we were getting them for a song. And then she sent them to me to review. And I said, yeah, no, we're actually paying like, you've got it under contract for, twice what it's worth. And I actually don't want them because they're junk, because it was just on the other side of a road where if you drill down on one side of this road, the houses that were built, you saw really nice rooftops. On the other side, you saw a lot of junk in the yards, a mix of trailers and crappy homes. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got to look at those aerial photographs. So, I mean, I don't invest in Texas, Mitch, but it sounds like, I've certainly been there. Been to Dallas many times, been to Austin. I've only been to Houston once. And you go around Dallas, and it doesn't look that diverse. I mean, it looks like, okay, time to carve out another square mile
Yeah, pretty much.
desert land, or the
Yeah.
plains, or whatever it is. But I guess it is obviously a huge state, and we've got size envy here in Connecticut. So, but I guess it's
Absolutely.
a lot more diverse than I thought, and then that obviously can lead to a lot of variation.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, there's like, I think 7, they broke Texas up into like 7 unique kind of geography / terrain type of things. I think it's 7 or 8. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so they're like the where I made all my money past couple of years. It's in the Texas Hill Country. So it's close to a lake. So you got that going on. There's terrain. So there are hills. There's both sandstone and granite. There are roughly 3 different subdivisions. So each one of those is its own thing. So when pricing, like I would buy the data from the data provider for the county, pay $100, get the entire county rolled. And then I would still go out with a tool like Data Tree or Agent Pro and draw a circle around what I want, because it took me longer to try to find what was where versus just going out and drawing me a polygon around it and pulling it back. And it's just the easiest way, because again, like I could literally like, okay, there's a ditch here, I need to work around that, or this mountain here, or there's no sewer over here, and so that, but I still love doing my own county research, because as you mentioned, Howard, the stuff that you learn about the county or the city you're working in, whatever it may be, that's invaluable, well, especially pricing. In fact, I had a seller actually question me on my, I've already paid him, but it's like, how did you do this? It was algorithmic. And I'm like, well, or the gut. I was like, well, it was kind of gut and looking around and stuff. And then that was 4 years ago. And then I mailed everybody, and I just kept increasing my prices. So,
Yeah.
Right. Taking an
Well,
iterative approach.
Yep.
Mitch, without giving up any secret sauce, what's your count, but other than sitting down and mapping out the areas and stuff, what are some of the other things that you do in your routine to research a county, research an area?
Realistically, just look at all the land selling sites, all those standard realtor sites, lands.com, things like that, and then just start digging around. And actually, in all honesty, since I'm, say I'm close, I'm within, a handful of hours of most of these places, I'll just go out there and look around. Like in this new place, the one I made the wrong offer, me and my acquisitions coordinator went out and literally spent a day and just drove around, and literally went not quite every little town subdivision, but just to get a feel, because we had both been there. I had a brother-in-law's dad had a place on the lake, for many years. I've been out there many times, but not, again, the lake is, I'm going to say 20 miles long, but maybe it's not that long, but it seems like 20 miles, but the diversity of, both the people who live there and different things, like I was telling Howard offline, you've got $1 million house on the lake over here and a meth lab a half a mile away.
Right.
Okay. That's the little diversity that you could see.
Right.
And until you know those, so, again, Google Maps or MapWriter, any of the other, satellite mapping tools can help you get a really good variation of different things. And it's good to look at different things like Google Maps. Their satellite images are taken at different times of the year, different years. So looking at them versus like MapWrite has pretty much up-to-date data. So depending on when they cycle it in, you've got trees covering everything or not trees covering everything. So it's good to compare maps to see, even with like MapWrite, for instance, they have several different mapping providers, just comparing different maps to see what you see. Some of them are higher resolution than others, but you don't have leaves on the trees, then you can see what's underneath the trees.
Yeah. Like a canopy road,
Yeah.
if you're in a heavily wooded area, for sure. That's a great takeaway, Mitch. I never thought about doing that because I have MapWrite, and I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So,
and then then most of the counties that I work with, and this is kind of by choice, use the same mapping provider. And they've got a really, really decent, more than decent mapping thing. And what they started doing a couple of years ago is they will actually plot out buildings on the properties as squares, and they're mostly correct. So finding, in some instances, you will have a building on top of a property. The property is considered vacant land, but there's a house on it because the house is a different property ID. It happens a lot with mobile homes.
Interesting.
And so you're like, oh, there's this vacant property, and you look it up and there's a double wide sitting on top of it. Why is that there? It's not supposed to be there. Well, technically it can be.
That probably explains a lot in Georgia and the Carolinas, because every time I've ever tried to pull a list in Georgia or the Carolinas of vacant land, like a third to a half of them have something on it.
Well, yeah. And in fact, I was talking to, actually, Dave, the meeting you and I were at, a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
The data tree data is coming back, supposedly vacant land, and there's a column for building square footage.
Yeah.
Should be blank the entire time, but it's not blank. I pulled one list and it had, I think I pulled back like 1,700 or something like that properties, and 500 or 600 of them had a building on it. And I did not.
High.
I was really irritated because I'm like, I just paid for this data, and now I've got to go through and see if is it a pole barn or is it something else?
Right.
Because they vary. And you also could look, and it may be bad data, old data, because the counties all update their data in varying ways. Even the one that I've been working for a few years, they went through a thing at the beginning of last year where they didn't update data for almost 3 months. So you're dealing with people that didn't have stuff.
Yeah, property's already sold.
It's already sold. Yeah.
Yeah. But that comes back to what we said before we started recording, and it is the data is what it is.
It is what it is.
Got to kind of just live with
see,
it.
and this is the thing that people have just got to realize is all the data providers get the data from always one source, which is the county.
Right.
Yep.
And if they are not on top of their data maintenance, and most of them are not because they've got things to do, and their update policies, with COVID, they've got personnel shortages or, got holidays, technical issues, whatever it might be. So you've really got to learn when you see something come through. It's like, yeah, this is kind of weird. But like I mail these 2 counties, and I'm not exaggerating when I say I got a 3-inch stack of returned offers. And that's only all for like 1,500.
You mean return ad for bad address?
Yeah, bad address. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I go and, some of them, they moved. Some of them, no, that's just the wrong address.
Yeah.
We recently did a podcast called The 5 Skills You Need to Bill. And one of the skills was data.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at all the people that are now getting into this business, um, I see, some people that have a lot of technical know-how and are pretty decent with data, but there's also a fair amount that aren't, where data is kind of intimidating to them because they don't necessarily have that experience. Um, for those people, what's your advice?
Experience, you know, just get in there and dig in. Just, so the big thing is, depending where you like, I think most everybody uses data tree. I think Agent Pro is going away or to go away. So I think most people use data tree now, and there's other services out that do stuff out there, but just become very familiar with the data that comes back from an extraction. What is in there that is one useful, because there's a lot of data that's totally not used at all, but there's a lot that is. But then, then you need to understand, looking at the data, and you go to the county website, where is that data on the screen? Okay, because a lot of times there's data behind the scenes that can get exported out, but it's not on the screen anywhere. So it's not hidden data. It's just they don't display it in the web app that they have.
Right.
But again, it's just experience, just working with it, like, sort by appraised value or assessed value, and sort of, large to small, and go and find out, why is this that price?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, who the heck ever knows why an appraiser appraises anything for anything, from one property to the next? I mean, I'm sure that there's a lot of technical justification, but if you got really behind the scenes, I bet there's a lot of.
My new realtor was saying that her neighborhood, the assessor would drive through, like, almost like on a weekly basis, to see what people had done to their houses so they could increase the value.
Exactly, because it's all about increasing taxes.
Yeah,
the motivation's different.
Yeah.
Because they can't actually increase the percentage of property tax without the voters voting on it. So the only way to raise revenue is increase the perceived value.
Right.
Yeah. One thing that I've learned over time is that, you look at data, whether it's 100 records, 1,000 records, 10,000 records. It's a bunch of numbers on a spreadsheet that just, you look at it, and all of a sudden it's like looking at one of those spiral things when Dr. Evil goes through the time machine. You're like, it looks like nothing. Until you visualize it and put in some kind of a visualization, which is why in Price Boss I put in that scatter plot diagram, because you can immediately see things that don't make sense, and there are always things that don't make sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So one quick data tip while we're talking about it, then I want to say something about the Price Boss there. But in the data, if you're using data tree, in the extract is a field called owner type. It's a number, and has 3 numbers, 1, 2, and 3. 1 is a person, 2 is some kind of trust, and 3 is a corporation or company or organization. So you can actually, so you could sort by, say, give me the 3s. That's the companies, because some of them don't look like companies. So it's either a real company under somebody's name, or it's just a mistake. But most of the time you can just sort, okay, then that helps you screen them out, because a lot of people mail to LLCs because they could be people like us that, maybe don't want it anymore. But then there's others that they're, the power company or the water company. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not going to sell their water tank. Things like that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good to use when you're scrubbing your list.
You're scrubbing the list. Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, all that's going to really do is save you a little bit of money on your mail cost.
Yeah.
In exchange for time.
In exchange for time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And since it's just really easy. It's like you could sort it by the owner type of 3 and just rip them all out and throw them into another worksheet, and just, that's a problem for tomorrow. If not worry about sending mail out to those. You can send it to your VA to figure out who are these companies, are they worth mailing to or not.
Yeah.
And focus on.
Yeah, I always used to actually filter out all the corporate owned properties until Dave taught me better.
Yeah, I did too.
Well, there's, since we're just kind of jabbering about data, when I building my list, for example, some of the best deals I've ever had were from properties held in an LLC, and from in-state owners. I just put the deal of a lifetime under contract, which was a friggin' in the damn neighborhood person, in the town anyway. And so I only use out of state and non-corporate owned filters when my list is bigger than my budget for that month. And then I'll use those filters just to shrink my list. But that doesn't mean I won't go back and mail those again. I'll take it out for now. And then at some point I'll come back and reverse the filters and mail those. It's like, okay, maybe my response rate or my conversion rate is higher for out of state because they're less attached to the properties, but you're leaving something on the table. There's people that are, around the corner. There's somebody who's elderly and just wants to get rid of it. So it really just comes down to your budget, people.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, there's two terms I would just love to for those of our listeners who are maybe not quite as experienced in data. There's just two terms I'd love to drop here. One is GIGO, which means garbage in, garbage out. If you put garbage data into your whatever tool you're using, doesn't matter what it is, you're going to get garbage results, and it's going to lead to bad decisions, and you're going to lose money. So you want to clean that. So there's a process, that all data people go through. Is like first they acquire data, then there's a number of processes, but one of them is cleaning the data, and you always want to be cleaning the data. And the two big things, the two most significant areas of cleaning are, one, to dedupe it so you don't have multiple records of the same information, and that happens all the time. I mean, if you're pulling data from multiple sources, let's say you pull from Lands of America and Realtor.com and Zillow, it's not only likely, it's highly likely that you're going to get the same property 3 times. So you need to be able to dedupe that. Otherwise, it's going to skew your answer dramatically, especially when you're translating it into pricing. So, a good tool, I'll just mention one, Price Boss, will automatically do that deduping for you. The second thing you have to do is you've got to get rid of the outliers. So if you were to present that data in a graph or in a chart, you'd see that, within, at certain acreages, the prices are all within a range. If you see just on that scatter plot, if you see some dots that are way high or way low, those are what we would call outliers because they're just different than the mass of everything else. And if you leave them in your analysis, it will really screw it up. There's a big difference, for example, between the median price, which is I've got 100 records here, and I want the price at between 50 and 51, whatever that is, and an average, which simply takes all of them, adds them together, and divides by 100. If you're doing an average and you've got these outliers in there, you're going to get some really messed up results, and you're going to end up paying 6 times the retail value for a property,
or offering too low,
Yeah.
and so a lot of that data, even it has I mean, I was pricing mailers today, spent a few hours doing it, and I found several outliers, which the nice thing is in the Price Plus tool, it also includes the link to the for sale or sold property, and you can just click on it and go, oh, yep, there's a structure on it. The ad indicates that it's raw land, but it's wrong, and so there's a structure on that, and that's the one. That's something that if the data is incorrect, a done for you algorithmic system isn't always going to catch that.
Exactly. And one thing I wanted to mention about the Price Boss, pulling data from Zillow and putting it into Price Boss and stuff, you always remember that a lot of realtors that are either new or don't live in the area where they're advertising the properties are extremely optimistic.
Right.
Okay. It drives my main realtor crazy because, we'll put a property up and she's looking around and there are other realtors who live an hour and a half away, whatever, and they're posting these properties for 50, 60% more than they're actually going to sell for.
Yeah.
And then what happens is everybody sees that and thinks that's the market, and it is not the market.
Right.
The market's what it's sold for, not what you're advertising it for.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
that's a good point, because in Texas, you're in a non-disclosure.
It's a non-disclosure
Okay.
state. Yeah.
So you
So
can't
yeah,
own
nobody
those.
has to know. In fact,
Oh.
our deeds don't even have a price on them in many cases.
Yeah.
Right.
So do you have your realtors pull MLS comps for you then, or you just
pretty much. Or like I said, the main one, she lives there. She's worked there for years. She knows everything. So basically, she really don't have to. She does pull comps, but it's more like, okay, yeah, this is what we're selling for now. So she'll just kind of get a good feel, looking at what's for sale, who's selling it, how long it's been on the market, things like that. And my new realtor's kind of the same thing. She grew up in that area as well. And
but
so,
how does that help you on pricing a mailer? If you're
basically your sale price determines your buy price.
right.
Right.
Okay.
So,
okay. So
yeah.
you're looking at it and she's giving you some comps on the front end.
Absolutely. So like today I had a couple come back, 2 different areas, 2 different realtors, send them both an email. Hey, what do you think we can sell this for? And that tells me what I can buy it for.
Yeah.
What my profits should be, or what I'd like it to be. Because, again, most of these I have investors on, so they have to make money. I have to make money. Some of them's not worth it. Some of them, as long as you price it correctly, but so others is like, yeah, that might work. Maybe it's not as much money as I'd like, but it, it's pays the bills.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So basically just having, that, going back to the last podcast I was on, where I was talking about the value of a realtor, especially one that's local. I mean, it took me quite a while to find somebody, and the new one, and it seems to have worked out so far. So yeah, because like I said, I sent one, hey, what do you think about that? I offered a lot of money for that too. It's really close to the edge, but she goes, oh yeah, we can probably, I offered 18, which is probably a little bit much. I'm gonna try to get it down, but she goes, yeah, we can probably sell it 35 to 40, but be prepared for offers of 20.
Right.
So.
Hey, folks, people often talk about automating and outsourcing your land flipping business, but what does that really mean? Generic solutions leave it to you to figure out how to set up and maintain the automations. I've been running my land business on LandSpeed for over 3 years because it's a total solution and allows me to focus on being a great land investor. LandSpeed was built specifically for land investing by a land investor. And with many of the most successful people in the business using it for years, it's evolved into one of the most feature-rich solutions on the market. Some of the key benefits I get are being able to create and manage mail campaigns and neighbor letters. I'm able to automate tasks amongst my team, create contracts and deeds, and email, text, or mail them within a few clicks. I can automatically capture sales leads from any lead source, including Facebook Messenger. Then it automatically pushes those leads into my sales funnel so that I can manually follow up, but they also go into my automated drip campaign. And since LandSpeed's a total cloud-based solution, I can run my business from anywhere in the world with a phone, laptop, or tablet. So if you want to turn your hobby into a professional, scalable business, just go to landspeedtech.com/Dave to receive a $150 discount today.
So I might want
Yeah, we talked about the variation. So you were talking on that lake, you've got one area, $1 million homes, and then, maybe a half mile down the road, you've got the meth lab. You try to take that and bring it to a place like North Carolina, or even parts of Colorado, but certainly North Carolina. When I lived in North Carolina, because I've lived everywhere, it was just fascinating to me. I mean, this is how it would work. There would be a McMansion, and then the next lot would be a mobile home, and then the next lot would be a church, and then the next lot would be an apartment building, and then you go back to the McMansion. It would just keep.
You're describing Houston, Texas. Except there's a 75-story office building right next to the trailer. I mean, the mobile home.
Planning and zoning back in the day wasn't doing their job.
Houston prides itself in not having zoning. So,
Yeah,
Right.
so Denver.
yeah. But again, it depends what area you're in. Some of them you're like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to speak ill of people who just can't afford it, but you look, I get so tired. I'm out there looking at these look for vacant land, and there's all these neighborhoods that have been created over the years. I was like, are there really that many trailers in Texas? I mean, mobile homes? Like, yeah, there are. And and a lot of people take perfectly good care of them. A lot of them, they just, they don't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. You talk about the neighborhoods like that. I had, this was a couple of years ago, had some guys from Europe that were trying to do this business, and they had a bunch of infill lots in North Carolina under contract with, basically options, which one of the gurus teaches. And luckily, I was thankful they didn't buy them, because anyway, I met them, I forget how, and they asked me, were having a real hard time doing the sales part of the business because of the time change. And so I made a deal with them, said, I'll sell them for you. And but when I got into them, I started, looking at their comps and going, man, anyway, they were in neighborhoods where you basically couldn't give the lots away, because they would be your customer would be builders.
Yeah.
And the price per square foot of any house sold comps was maybe equal, maybe just a little bit higher than the cost to build.
Yeah.
So you can't make any money in that neighborhood. So that's a really important thing to look at when you're looking at infill lots, that, the only exit strategy is to a builder who is going to build there. And,
right.
If the comps just aren't there for whatever reason, it's a downtrodden neighborhood. You can't give that lot away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. I've been playing with Price Boss a lot lately, needless to say. And one thing that I realized is that when we reinvented the product to support this new pricing method, you can now just kind of change you can bring in a polygon of data, and then you call it like Group A. You bring another polygon, call it Group B, and so long as you can find some sold comps, say through a Lands of America or a Zillow or something like that, where it's kind of self-reported, because obviously it's not coming from the county. If you can find some sold comps, then it's a relatively easy matter to say, okay, Group A are my sold comps, Group B are my for sale comps, and then you could figure out what the factor is. Okay, so now I know that I need to multiply on average a sold comp by 80%, and that's how I can make a proxy for a sold comp. And you could actually do the exact same thing with assessed value. I wouldn't do it across a county, but I would do it within a polygon, and then all of a sudden you can take whatever data you have, and you can feel reasonably confident just by using assessed or for sale values.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I started these two counties, all I had was assessed value. There were so few comps. It was almost totally irrelevant what the comp was.
Did you think about doing neutrals?
At the time, no, I didn't, because it was one of those where I had a full-time job anyway. So, neutrals generate a lot of phone calls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I wasn't set up for that. In fact, Jesse on the RE Tipster podcast talks about that. It's like, yeah, he does neutrals now, and he's talking about getting 20 calls a day. Well, I'm not set up for 20 calls a day. And he mentions, like, yeah, you got to have the staff to do that.
Yeah. I've done that. And, the thing is, I gave it a really, really stringent test, and yeah, we had a lot of calls, and it not just the calls, but then you got to go and figure out, and make them another offer and spend time on it. And I didn't. I found my conversion rate was actually lower than on blinds or hybrid ranged.
I'm kind of the opinion, and it may not be popular, but and I hope not offending anybody, especially Jesse, but if he's doing massive amounts of mail. So, I understand why he's doing it, because it's easier to price 20 offers or whatever versus, 5,000.
Right.
But the thing is if you're doing neutral, you didn't put the work in.
Yeah.
You're solving with a problem on the back end, not on the front end.
Right. Yeah.
And
You can work on the front end or the back end.
right. Yeah. You're going to have to put the work in somewhere. But again, I think being able to, because, other people are mailing these people too. So, if you have a lower conversion because they offered a number and they have to call you to figure out the number, which one do you think they're going to do?
Right. Right. Because sometimes it's just convenient. They like the offer and they just sign it and return it.
Yeah. In fact, I just had a really great conversation with a seller, and he's the one who asked me the question about, how do I get my pricing? But it was actually quite interesting. But he said he received 20 to 25 offers ranging from 1180 to 16,800. And I went with offered him $5,234.
Mhm.
And he asked me 4 times, are you sure it's worth that? Like, yep, that's what I'm paying right now for that kind of property, and that's what I'm going to pay you. And
So you were half of the lowest part of his range.
no, the lowest was like $1,100. So
1,100. So you're in the middle of his range.
Yeah, I
Or lower
middle.
third.
I was in the middle. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
asked him, I said, okay, now he had 3 questions. And I answered all 3 of them, or 2 of them actually. And then I asked him, was like, why'd you go with us? And he wrote back, yeah, this is why we went with you. Because I was reasonable. In fact, he called this like the $16,000 offer. He called him a scam. I was like, yeah, they're not really trying to scam you. They don't know what they're doing. That's really what I told him. It's like, they're looking at Zillow and they're getting the prices, and the prices are wrong, and they don't know that. And then, they think they can make this amount. And yeah, so it's I mean, we'll sell it for 16, but for buying it for 16, yeah, we can't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
But but again, it took a while. I mean, it's just one of those where, I figured he had other offers, and it took me like 2 months to get the paperwork done. But finally
There's something so pleasurable and satisfying about dealing with somebody who can understand what you're saying, speaks the language, and can appreciate the honesty of the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, then I asked him, like, why'd you go with us? And he told me. Yeah. So basically what he say, he said, he said, most offers lowball. Your offer was considered to be more than a fair offer, but not too high to be suspect, which I liked. And
so he's been down the ringer before where people don't close.
Yeah, because he offered language that he saw, which was land use meets buyer's acquisition criteria, or sale is contingent upon parcel size and other considerations, whereas mine didn't have that. And he said, I took the time to make personal phone calls.
Right.
And
was his first question, are you a Nigerian prince?
No. But he said he actually wasn't actually looking to sell it, but he just got tired of paying the taxes. And this place that has the city, it's Texas, so you got to be careful with your grass because of fire. And so if you don't mow it, if you can mow it, or if you don't mow it, the city will mow it, they'll charge you $130 a year for that. Okay. But then I had another one today. It's like the guy owes so much money. I said, look, he owes like $6,000 on it. I said, look, what if I just gave you $2,000 and I'll pay off everything else? He's like, okay, do that. And I sent him a deed and sent him contract. That was fine. Sent him the deed, didn't do it. And I got this nasty letter today that he accused me of being a scammer, because as soon as I get the deed, he's stuck with the taxes and all the other fees. And I'm like, well, no. Having been through this, as soon as that deed is in my name, I am responsible for 100% of everything that goes with that piece of property.
Yeah.
So, you know, he said he consulted a lawyer, but he also consulted Google, which
Oh,
is
wow.
sometimes a lawyer. And yeah, so I called him, left a message. I rebutted all of his information. Still waiting for him to call me back. They didn't want to sell it. Didn't want to sell it. It's not going to change. You know, you still have liens on the property, and they still are going to send you these bills. Sorry, man.
Right.
Well,
I'll offer you a
tell him
way
to
out.
play it safe. He can pay off the liens, and then you'll give him $8,000.
Right.
Yeah, and then he goes, well, I'll try to find somebody to pay it off. I said, look, you know, instead of you paying it off, why don't I just give you money? I'll take care of everything, and you have cash in your pocket. You don't owe anything, and then I can sell it.
Yeah, and it makes sense because, you know, why not wait until you have it sold and to pay off the taxes?
Yeah. So
Use other people's money.
and I said, look, you know, we can go through a title company. Why don't we just do that? And then that way everything is, you know, we can just do it like that.
Yeah.
So hadn't heard back, probably won't. That's fine.
Yeah. It's
Kinda
interesting. Some people are just so, what's the word, gun shy about,
Trusting.
yeah,
he was perfectly fine with everything. He just like, hey, can we wait till after the first year? I said, sure, no problem. I'm about town anyway. So yeah, just, you know, do it, get it in the mail to me. And then when I'm gonna be gone after that was the first anyway. So I didn't go, but and then so yeah, he talked to somebody and freaked him out. Is what happened.
yeah.
Somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about.
Yep.
Because the fact that he thinks that I can steal the property and then him being responsible for all the taxes and stuff is absolutely blatantly wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Exactly. Because the taxes follow the title.
Yeah, taxes follow the property. Yeah. So
that's great. I had
Sounds like it's a simple, never split the difference opportunity if you can just get them on the phone.
yeah, like I said, I told him, I said, look, just go to a title company. You know, if you're scared about this, that's not a problem at all. I mean, it just costs us more money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
right,
going back to your previous deal, that's, you know, where, you know, he's had a lot of offers, but he was gun shy from people that offer too high and don't close. You know, how many times do you get somebody on the phone that says, well, I got an offer for XYZ, and it's, you know, it's way too high. And I mean, my answer is usually, well, you should sell it to them.
Yeah,
we had one I may have mentioned, but it was half granite. There was no sewer. You had to put in septic. Again, it was half granite. Bruce, my acquisitions coordinator, called him back and he goes, yeah, I've got three other offers, one for 22,000. And he was calling me back to say we weren't going to buy it. And I told Bruce, I said, you call him back right now and tell him to take that $22,000 offer and run as fast as he can to the bank.
Yeah.
Because that's an idiot and they don't know it. And they're going to spend too much money and then can't build on it.
Right. Yeah. So what we do on those is we put them in our back burner. We created a new stage called back burner.
Back burner.
And
Okay.
for various reasons, but a lot of those people where we know, all right, they got those high offers, they're not going to close. Fine. Tell them they should go take that offer. And then we reach back out, we text them like 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Did that guy close? No, we've picked up 2 or 3 deals that way.
I don't do that because most of the time when we turn it down, it's because we can't sell it. Because we can't, they can't, again, there's problems like the granite. Okay.
Right.
With the sandstone, people, it's hard to understand, but people down there have to pay $25,000 or $30,000 for a septic system.
Right.
Because of how they have to do it and the type of septic it is.
Mm-hmm.
But when we turn it down, it's because we can't sell it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But there are some that we lose to competition and it's like, oh, they want somebody else. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. In fact, I have a buddy of mine down there. He picked up a lot that I had to turn down because after I got through paying everybody from what the seller wanted, I wouldn't have any money left.
Yeah.
But he's a one-man shop. He doesn't go through a realtor. He doesn't go through a title company to do the sale. And he had it priced a little bit too high, but that's fine. He can sell it. But it was fine for him. But we didn't have any wiggle room on that.
Yeah.
So I saw it on Facebook. I'm like, oh, I know that lot.
So I know you don't, you probably don't have an exact answer to this because that would require, it would have required some significant analysis, but do you have any sense of the impact of pricing on response rate?
Well, I don't track that specifically. I do track response rate. So like let's just say I sent out 475 letters, I got 15 responses. So that's a 3.16% response rate.
Mhm.
What's your
one of-
conversion
And,
rate?
and actually, maybe I think maybe you were right, Dave, in an earlier conversation. Maybe response rate's not the right one because if you overprice, you can get a really high
you
response
get a
rate.
high response
All
rate.
that really
Well,
matters
what I
is conversion rate.
what I
I like
also track
conversion
is
rate.
yeah, I track a conversion rate. So I don't have any out of that one yet, but say let me
And I tend to like to track them that like on an annual basis because it's amazing. I just talked to my acquisitions coordinator this morning and it's been a little bit slow lately. And she's like, dude, I got 3 deals under contract yesterday and today, and a couple more, I think, coming in from really old mailers, like almost a year ago.
Oh yeah. So I had some from the beginning of the year. So 12, 13, say 1300 letters, 26 responses. There were three different mailers, so what it was. So one was a 30% conversion purchase rate, one was 100%, and one was 57.14%.
Wait a minute. Oh, you mean of the responses?
Of the responses. So basically like on the
Converted 30.
57%, I got 14 responses, purchased 8 of them.
Okay.
But
Okay.
So
No
what would that
sense
be as
of-
as a percentage conversion of your total mailers? So if the 7 out of how many mailers would?
So basically, yeah, so 8 out of 531
That's
letters.
pretty good.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it
So
is good.
basically the response rate on this one, so 531 letters, 2.64% response rate, and a
0.5% conversion rate.
yeah, and then
Fantastic.
a 57% purchase rate out of those. So basically 8 out of 14. So
Yeah, but you don't necessarily, you can't like say, well, this mailing, I think my pricing was really good. This one, my pricing was not so good. To say, okay, when my pricing is really good, I tend to get a much higher conversion rate.
yeah,
So 1.5%. That's really good.
It's really good.
well, so well, again, my numbers are all low, but I mailed to a bunch of, everybody stays out of country things. I mailed 31 letters to Canadian owners, got 5 responses, purchased 2. So that's a 16%. Most of my the kind of, so this is a March one, kind of average, 413 letters, 24 responses, 6 purchases. So that's a 5.81% response rate. And ours kind of did that for quite a while. I mean,
Fantastic.
yeah.
But you do smaller, very targeted.
Yeah, you get very, very, very targeted.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, again, in this one little, area I'm working, I mailed everybody.
Yeah.
So all I do is I literally pull out the last offer and bump it up by 10, 15, 12%.
Yeah.
Last year, oh Jesus, 25%.
Yeah, because things
So
were going through
it got so crazy. Yeah. So I don't, but I had another column, just like, X times, 1.25%, and then there we go, and send it off.
right. Yeah, yeah. Well, I think we're bucking against the end of the time here. But fascinating stuff, Mitch. Always exciting to hear about the tremendous success that you're having, and I guess if it's any consolation to our listeners, yeah, whether you are doing a deal or two a month, or whether you're doing a 7-figure business, We're all learning all the time. Everybody makes a mistake from time to time. Obviously, Mitch doesn't make too many mistakes, but every once in a while.
Nothing puts you back in your place than rather than having to make 10 phone calls saying, yeah, I can't buy that.
Yeah. Well, to me, I look at it as an opportunity. I'm like, look at the only purpose of a letter is to get a conversation. So long as I can get a conversation,
some
I
of
gotta
them,
get shot at.
some of them I actually will like, hey, that was like that won't work. Sorry to bother, sorry to waste your time, but this is what happened. Others like, yeah, I can't pay that much, pricing was off, and can I do, would you be interested in this? Because a lot of these, they are actually motivated sellers. I mean, they just don't, they just don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
But I don't, I'm a giant believer in karma. I do not want to be in a situation where I feel like I'm taking advantage of somebody, no matter if I am or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want that on me. So
Right.
I would rather either walk away or offer, try to make good on my commitment at the beginning rather than try to lowball them or anything like that. But if I come down 1,000, that it gives me a little bit more breathing room on the margin. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I don't care how the
not coming
conversation.
down 6 times.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Awesome. Well, Mitch, thanks so much for your time, buddy. It's good seeing you,
guys. Good to see you again.
And we'll see.
And just one last time, really encourage you to check out the course. I think you'll find that it really is kind of a game changer when you get really good pricing that's really dialed in. It's just Price Master, PRICE Master. .land.mba. Just check it out. You get to see a little video with Dave. How exciting! And and we would love if you check that out. So thanks all for your time today, Mitch. Thanks again, and we'll see you all next time on the Land.mba podcast.
See you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode, had a bit of fun, and walked away with some actionable insights that you can apply to your business. Dave and I have got some great content and interviews planned, so don't forget to rate and review, and of course subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. If we mention any interesting links or tools, you'll find them in the show notes. To learn more about Land.mba, visit our website at, wait for it, Land.mba. See you next time on the Land.mba podcast.